Okay, so standard form calculations. 3.2 times 10 to the power of 4 plus 6.7 times 10 squared. Now, because we are adding, we need to work them out in two parts. So work the first question out and then work the second part out and add them together. So as in previous video, 3.2 times 10 to the power of 4, remember that just means times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. So it's 4 places in the place value table, to the left getting bigger. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 is going to go to there, the 2 would have followed, and the decimal point doesn't move, so I just need 0 fillers for that one. That's the first one. And then the second one, this is times by 10 squared, so times 10 times 10, which is going to be 2 places getting bigger. So putting that one in, 6.7, moving it twice, 1, 2, the 6 is going to be there, the 7 is followed, and we just need the 1 0 to place filler. Then we just need to answer the question. So 32,000 plus 670. Remember, the only problems or mistakes you can make here is not laying out your hundreds under your hundreds, your tens and units and so on. So make sure you know your headings. Be careful with it. Then you can add them up. Nothing and nothing is nothing. Nothing add 7 is 7. Then 6. Then 2. Then 3. So our final answer to this calculation is 32,670. Okay, so subtraction works the same way. So if we look at this question over here, 6.7 times 10 to the 4, same method, 6.7, moving it 4 places, 1, 2, 3, 4 is 6, 7, and then the decimal point doesn't move, so I need to put 3 zeros, so 67,000, and then 3.4, moving it 3 places, 4 follows, subtract 3,400. Okay, which is loads of mistakes that can be made with subtraction, so be careful. I think you make less mistakes if you do it on a number line. It's up to you. 3,400, finding the difference between that and 6,700. No, sorry, 67,000. So 3,400 is probably going to be helpful if I can get to 4,000. But remember, you can take it in different jumps. I can add on 600. That gets me to 4,000. If I get to 7,000, I can then get straight to the final answer. So that would be by adding 3,000. That gets me to 7,000. And then I just need to add on 60,000. And that's going to give me my final answer if I add those together. So remember, add those up, 60,000, 3,000, again, watch your layout, and 600. Adding those together, and that's going to give you 63,600. Okay, so multiplying with standard form. Before we answer this question, it's important to understand that multiplication can be done in any order. So for example, if you had to do 3 times 2 times 6, that's the same as 2 times 3 times 6, or 6 times 2 times 3, etc. So it can be done in any order. So as soon as you understand that, it makes this question much easier to do. And this is because the whole of this question is multiplication. So because I can do it in any order, it makes it easy if I put the numbers together. 3.1 times by 2 times by 10 to the power of 3 times by 10 to the power of 4. Now I can deal with the numbers first. 3.1 times 2, so 3.1 doubled, is 6.2, and then I can deal with the powers second. So remember, 10 to the 3 means 10 times 10 times 10, 10 to the 4 means 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. Altogether there's 4 and 3, which is 10 to the 7. And that is my answer. Obviously, if it asks you to change it into an ordinary number, you could do that. Okay, so if you have a look at another one, Then we could do the same again, so the numbers would go next to each other, 5.2 times 3, and the powers 10 squared times 10 squared. Deal with the numbers next, 5.2 times 3. Remember, if you struggle with that, you could just literally add them up like that, 3 times. Worst case scenario, 2, 4, 6, and then 5, 10, 15. Or remember, 5.2 times 3 is the same as 52 times 3, which is 156. That question is 10 times bigger, so you need to make your answer 10 times smaller, and it'll still be 15.6. So that gives us 15.6 times by, and then 10 squared times 10 squared is 10 to the power of 4. And remember, if in doubt, write it out. Now, the classic mistake with this question is to leave that as your final answer, 15.6 times 10 to the power of 4. But if you remember, the definition is a times 10 to the power of n, where a is a number that is less than 10 or greater than 1 and including 1. So as we can see here, this is not standard form. Now, to avoid a mistake, you might want to write out what that answer is first of all, and then change it back into standard form. So if we was to work out the actual whole sum, that is going to give us the following. So 156,000. Now if I wanted that in standard form, I would need to get the 1 under the units column, and then the 5, 6 would have followed. That would have mean the 1 has been times by 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000. It means it would have moved 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places. That would give us 1.56 times 10 to the power of 5. Now, if you look back at the question, so we had 15.6 times 10 to the 4, and we've just worked out that it is in fact 1.56 times 10 to the power of 5. Now what you can see is the answer has actually been divided by 10 on the one side and times by 10 on the other to keep the question answer equivalent. So they're both the same as each other, but the final answer is in standard form there. Okay, so division with standard form. Firstly, we can see we've got 6.4 times 10 to the 3 divided by 2 times 10 squared. Now it can be easier, as we know a division and fraction can be used interchangeably, to be wrote as 6.4 times 10 to the 3 divided by 2 times 10 to the power of 2. Now what that allows us to do is really focus on the division of the numbers first. So if I break that up, it's the same as 6.4 over 2 times by 10 to the power of 3 over 10 to the power of 2. So 6.4 divided by 2, half of 6.4 is 3.2, that's that part. And now remember, for this part, I could show it like this, 10 times 10 times 10 divided by 10 times 10. I can see that I've got times 10 times 10 common to both, so I can divide top and bottom by 10 and then by 10 again, and it will just leave me with the one power of 10, so times by 10. Now it is just one power of 10, so I will need to put the 1 there just to keep it in standard form, so 3.2 times 10 to the power of 1. Now if we look at another question, you could be asked 8.4 times 10 to the 5 divided by 4 times 10 squared. Follow the same process, 8.4 times 10 to the power of 5 divided by 4 times 10 to the power of 2. Taking it further, 8.4 divided by 4. Now if you think about this, we can firstly divide it by 2, half it, that's going to give us 4.2 over 2, and then half it again, top and bottom, it's going to give us 2.1 over 1, which is 2.1. So that's our first calculation, that's our numbers sorted. Then on to the powers, so 10 to the 5 is 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 divided by 10 times 10. We can see here there is 10 times 10 common to both, so I can divide by 10 times 10, which is the same as dividing by 100. That's going to get rid of the denominator, leave it over 1, so that would be 10 times 10 times 10, which is 10 cubed, over 1, which is 10 cubed. So our final answer is, put it together, 2.1 times 10 to the power of 3.